Well, I'm back to working on the Walker lawnmower that was given to me a few months ago. Like the old adage of "be careful what you wish for," it kind of holds true here. This machine has quite a few mechanical issues, gremlins that I'm chasing down. And in this video, what I'm going to do is I'm going to replace the grass chute that runs from the mower deck to the basically blower motor that blows the grass back up into the hopper. The existing grass chute has gotten broken over the years and is not and it causes the grass to get hung up, and then it stops up everything in the works, and I have to stop mowing and clean everything out. So I'm gonna try. Now, something that became pretty evident, or maybe is to you if you are watching these videos that I'm doing, these machines are fairly complex as far as a yard mower goes. They do a great job of mowing. Don't get me wrong. I really enjoy it cuts the grass really even and smooth, but they're pretty mechanically complex. What you see here is the grass chute that comes up, and here I'm trying to show you where it's busted. It basically sometime got hung up and it tore the edge out in there, so there's a big rip in it right along this arrow that I've drawn, and that's causing when it goes into place, it hangs up or it pushes out and the grass gets hung up there. So here you can kind of see it a little bit better. Right in there, it basically separated. So I've got to replace it, and that's what I'm going to do. This chute ties up into this where what I call the blower system. It's supposed to go right up in there, and it's not working properly. Now, I did say these things are kind of complex mechanically, but they are made, I think, to be very easily serviced. Apart from, like when you saw me take the starter motor off, I couldn't get to it. So there's some of those things that are a little bit complicated. There's a lot of moving pieces involved. But in this case, I spared you the taking the mower deck off the mower. It's pretty simple. I'll show you putting it back on later in the video. But I've got the mower deck off. I power wash it to clean it off. I'm just checking some things here. But I've got to take this chute off, so this is what I'm doing here. Just real simple. There's a couple of bolts that the hardest part is getting my hand down inside there to hold on to them. But so taking it off the mower deck. So just a couple of 10mm bolts and nuts, and it comes right off. Easy enough. And once I had the chute off, I got online to the Walker Parts Depot and ordered the parts that I needed. I also checked around a couple other things that I think I'm going to need. I'll have to make a future video about those, and we'll talk about that here toward the end of this video.
Let's see what we got in here. There you go. Basically, it's the new chute. Put that on there. That's the new grass chute that goes on it. This must be the gaskets for the PTO. Bearings for the takeoff, and I look out. Okay, well, we got some work to do today. Should be two bearings, an idler pulley, and a set of gaskets for the low price of $292, $300.
And when I ordered the grass chute, you can order it with this bracket already put on, or you can use your old bracket. I just chose to use the old bracket as there was nothing wrong with it. It's just a matter of, I thought, removing a couple of bolts, 3 bolts to be exact, and then drilling out the new grass chute. Turns out it wasn't quite as easy as I thought. So number one, The bolts are just like a carriage bolt, so there's nothing to get a hold of on the backside, and they just spun in the holes. So I ended up having to take a Dremel tool and cut the nuts off of the bolt head here, or the bolt. Cut the nut off the bolt using this Dremel, which wasn't the easiest thing to do without tearing up the bracket, which I obviously didn't want to do. Once I had cut through the nut, I could take a chisel and pop the head off and push the bolts out, and that part was done. But I will say they did not want to come loose. It was quite a frustrating 15 minutes here to get these off because they just would not come loose. The next part of the project was transferring the bracket over to the new grass chute, which means I have to drill out this rivet, which had the same exact problem as the bolts. You start drilling through the rivet, get to a certain size, and the rivet just starts spinning in the hole. So I tried clamping it down with vice grips. I tried clamping it down with pliers. Ultimately, I ended up doing the exact same thing. I got one hole drilled. I needed to drill it to a 3/16 inch size to get the rivet to come out. Luckily, it's an aluminum rivet. So what I was ultimately able to do was, again, take just a cold chisel once I had this hole drilled in it and pop the head off of it. Now I sped all this up just to save you the headache of watching me do this for 15 minutes or whatever this took. It was, you can see, kind of a frustrating time trying to get this off. It's always the little things on these projects that take up the most time. But once I just gave up and said, okay, get the cold chisel, pop the head off, I was ready to go. Now it is just a lawnmower. I'm not sure how accurate you have to be, but I just looked at how it was mounted to the original grass chute and tried to replicate that. It's like a 90-degree angle coming off that hinge. Took some 3/16 inch aluminum rivets, and I originally thought I'd put them in from the inside. Turns out that was not possible because my rivet gun wouldn't fit inside the grass chute and allow me to articulate it enough to pop the rivet. So I ended up having to put them in from the outside, which it's not how it was done originally, but I think it will work. If you've ever used a rivet gun, it's a pretty simple process. As long as you got your grip distance correct, which this one was 3/16 by a 1/4 inch. I used a couple, as you can see here, I used a couple of the washers they had to give it a little bit more structure to the rivet. And now it's just a simple process of bolting everything back up, same as I took it off. Everything just mounts right back up, nice and clean. The grass chute worked just fine once it was in place. I've already mowed the yard a couple times with it, so very happy with what you see here. Now in a future video, I'm going to be replacing the seals inside this, I guess, differential, for lack of a better thing to call this. It's the actual drive shaft that drives the two mower blades, and the seals are leaking on either end. Now here I'm just comparing the old to the new to make sure everything looks like it works. It was set up the same geometry. And what I did notice is that it binds up on this, what is that, right-hand side wheel, but it also bound up on the original, so I'm assuming it's put in correctly.
Okay, so the idea now is we get this stuck back up under here. These two This and this run up on these two rails, and that's what holds the whole thing up. I put this into that right there, but the biggest problem is this thing right here. Got to hook this spring up over here, and then it'll go way back up under here.
Now this is where all the magic really happens. This is the what I call the blower motor. Now what I figured happened was these tabs had gotten bent down, and that's what caused the chute to originally break. Both blades eject through the center out toward the back of this mower, and it goes into this grass chute to this fan that sucks the grass back into it and pushes it up vertically into the hopper. Best I can tell is this spring is just there for assembly purposes, so that when I push this up under there, the spring actually lifts that chute up into that blower motor housing. And that's why those tabs need to be out just a little bit so that it can engage that without running into the frame. And like I said before, this thing it's kind of mechanically complex, but it actually goes together a lot easier than you would think. It's just you hook these onto those two arms that come out. They slide right on, greased everything up obviously. They slide right on. There's a couple of cotter pins that hold it together. And because these arms are pivoted right off the framework of the mower, it holds the deck really level and makes the mower work extremely well. I was pretty impressed with how that works, if you can't tell. Now something interesting I found out about this shaft is it's keyed a certain way, and you have to line up the two arrows on the shaft. I guess if the arrows are gone, there's one groove in the spline that is got it like a keyway, so it has to slide in just right to make it all fit. And because I don't want to do this again, I'm making sure that it fits right on the receiver into that blower. Here's a better picture of that shaft. You can kind of see the two arrows that you have to line up to make it work properly or be indexed right. And after all that, it's just a matter of fitting these cotter keys in place to make sure the deck is held on. No bolts, just cotter keys on these shafts. Then it's just locking in level with these pins on either side, and that keeps it all level with the arms. Now this part is, I'm not exactly sure. This chain is a whole other system for basically pivoting this up. If you were like loading it on a trailer, I would like anybody's opinions of this. I was thinking of taking it off. It's just kind of in the way when I'm trying to get on and off the mower, and I don't use it. I'm not exactly sure if you need it or not, so I'd be interested in your opinions on that. And the last thing you have to do is attach the spring-loaded system that holds it all to height, which is as simple as tilting the seat forward, hooking in this little clamp, and when the seat goes down, it basically picks up the whole unit to a specified height. Please forgive my use of the Harley hammer here, but you got to use what you got to use. And that's it. I want to thank you for watching the video. Stay tuned. We'll be doing the pulleys, we'll be doing the seals and the bearings in future videos. They'll be coming out. When I get around to doing that, I'm still the yard guy and the general mechanic around this shop. Thanks again. Bye.